We're ready for wash and go with Theatopia.
Shampoo.
That's right. This is step 1. We're doing our shampoo.
Mom. happy, 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 happy.
We just did our Puretopia shampoo.
Almost there. Happy, happy, happy. Dude! Conditioner! Yay! Conditioner. I like that.
The conditioner is in M's here, and as you can see, it's super soft and nice. Ooh, look at these curls.
And we put our conditioner in our Petopia.
We're all done with the shampoo and conditioner.
And so we're done.
Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
Hello, my name is Winston Taylor.
And I'm Kamala Glenn Taylor.
We would like to welcome you to our first episode of Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry. Oh, that I know the exact definition of love.
I think for a lot of us that our definitions of love don't just start when we're adults. So if you think about it, where did you first learn to love? Who'd you learn it from? What were the models that you had? Who were the people that you followed along with, and who taught you how to love? And that's where we start to answer that question.
I think this would be a good journal point if you could write in your journal, where did you learn to love? God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love. Hello, my name is Winston Taylor.
And I'm Kamala Taylor.
We want to welcome you to KW Monday Nights with KW. We are so excited to have you here. We're excited about what's going to happen tonight. We're excited about what God is going to do. Kamala, why don't you say a quick word of prayer for us as we get started on tonight?
I sure can. Father in heaven, thank you so much for the opportunity that we have here tonight just to bring some healing, some hope to somebody out there with a desperate cry. Thank you so much that you allow us to be your hands and feet. It's in your name we pray.
Amen. Actually, we are here tonight. Our theme for tonight is a journey through life. We have a great guest tonight, Jennifer Wilson. I'm not ready for her just yet. Jennifer Wilson. And let me tell you how we managed to bring Jennifer on. It's from reading her post on Facebook. I realized that here is someone who understands life. Here is someone who has traveled through life and has gotten to the point in life where they're determined that they're going to enjoy life no matter what. And so I have been excited to reconnect. We asked her if she would come on, and she has agreed to come on, and we're excited to have her. But we'll introduce her some more later. We're just grateful again that you would join us, KW Ministries. How did KW Ministries real quick come about? What is KW Ministries?
KW Ministries comes out of our own desperate cry.
And when you say desperate cry, what do you mean?
I mean that we were in a marriage, but not in a marriage. I mean, we were hurting, we were in pain, we had given hurt, we had received hurt, and we were at a place where it looked like we were going to come to an end. And God allowed us to have an experience together and continues to allow us to have an
experiences
where we are on this journey of healing. And out of that journey of healing, we wanted to, see what God could allow us to do to help somebody else who may not be going through marriage difficulties, but maybe going through difficulties in their life where they feel like they're at the end of their rope. And we also wanted to bring in those who have been through those challenging times
and can continue to help
us and others.
That's right. And so, I just want to say welcome again. We started in 2020.
Yes, we did.
Do you remember? And then the COVID pandemic came in. And when the pandemic came in, we took a break to focus on the church. Then we ended up resigning from pastoral ministry and leading now a nonprofit and a whole bunch of changes have happened in our lives.
I think one of the biggest changes, which is a good change actually, was during that time you wrote not just one, but 4 devotionals, all geared towards leading people to a better understanding of God.
Yes, I'm excited to introduce those devotionals to you. But Kamala talking about writing, one of the things that we're promoting here is her journey to healing, yes. Reaching women with a desperate cry. It's an 8-week Zoom seminar. It's an 8-week Zoom seminar designed to restore the image of God in you.
And one of the really unique things about her journey to healing is that it puts together 2 worlds, if you will. I think we want to say that at the end of the day, it's not 2 different worlds, but we're framing it that way right now. Where we're putting together.
But I think, let me interrupt you, and I'm sorry, Kamal, because I think that's very important that you pointed out that the clinical and the spiritual world are not 2 different worlds. And so if you would just please say a real quick word on why the clinical and the spiritual world are not 2 different worlds.
Well, honestly, I think because at the end of the day, the God who created us
is
the one who has given us all of this knowledge and
tools.
Empowered us to use these tools that we learn in a clinical sense.
So in speaking about tools, ma'am, you wrote this amazing book, The Journey to Healing, Reaching People with a Desperate Cry, 8 Coping Skills to Heal.
I like to think about this way. So 8 coping skills to heal is all about us learning different ways of doing things. The funny thing is that we don't get a guidebook as people growing up in life. Yeah. We don't get a guidebook as kids. We don't get a guidebook as adolescents. We don't get a guidebook as adults. And so all throughout our life, we are looking for ways to do things differently, to learn and develop, to cope.
Right.
And so this coping skills workbook is designed to help you on your journey of developing new skills.
Oh man, I'm excited. So we're going to cover all of that tonight. So plus, not only do we have devotionals to share with you tonight, we actually have a brand new product. We have a brand new product. We want to get you this t-shirt, The Journey to Healing, reaching people with a desperate cry. And we believe that most of us are motivated by shame, guilt, and fear. We want to tell you to stop that in the name of Jesus, and let's enjoy joy, peace, and love. So we have that in our store that we want to share with you. We also have
some great merchandise in our store. If you take a look, you might be able to see that we have got our amazing logo on here, KW Ministries, A Desperate Cry. Tell us about the teardrop.
And the teardrop is just that, the tears. And again, KW Ministries is not for everyone. KW Ministries is for people who have a desperate cry, who are in need of help, who, like us, reached rock bottom and you're looking for a way up. That's where we come in. So not only do we have our cup, Julie Cropper. Julie Cropper was a faithful when we first started. I wish we could get her back, but she was showing off on Facebook the other day. I have my KW merch, but we also have this amazing tote for you. And all of this is in our store. And as a matter of fact, if you run over to kwministries.net, guess who's there? We're there live. Yes, that's right. We're on our website. We're on our Facebook pages. And we are on our YouTube channel. Let's take a quick break. Come on, let's take a quick break. I think that was a good introduction. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll have Miss Wilson with Sister Jennifer Wilson. Right. We're going to have some fun tonight because I have her Facebook page up actually. And I want to actually talk to her about some stuff on her page. I'm super excited about what we're going to do tonight. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
So anxious resistance. Now remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
You come March 4.
We sure do. Listen, so our March 4 seminar, which is Women, A Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate
Her Journey to Healing.
I apologize, is all about being able to really look into the deepest part of ourselves and to really notice the things that have really molded us into life and find where those things aren't helpful for us anymore, and through God mold into something different.
Wow. I believe that's going to be great. We're going to tell a story one day of why it's women's first. And we're going to tell God actually instant messenger me. Yes, I'm not going to tell that tonight, but we're going to tell that story one day. So we're excited tonight. We have Sister Jennifer Wilson. Sister Jennifer Wilson works at Northern Caribbean University. She is a lover of young people. She's an amazing woman of God. Let's bring her in. Sister Wilson, thank you so much for joining us. I think you are in Maryland right now.
I'm in Delaware.
You're in Delaware right now. And we're so excited to have you. What are you doing in Delaware?
I've just recently got married in July.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I am here with my darling husband.
And let me interrupt you real quick, Jennifer. Please send in your questions, send in your comments, and join us in the laughter. Join us in the fun. Let's not just have the fun by ourselves. I see my father-in-law out there. Good night, my son and daughter. Good program. We're happy to have you, Dad. We're happy to have you. So, Jen, what are you doing in Maryland? Say it again.
Okay, so I recently got married in July of this year. And of course, I couldn't stay away, especially in this cold. I could not stay away from my husband.
This is gonna be good tonight.
So, Of course, people speak about live and dead blanket. Well, I have to provide that live
Yes, Lord,
support.
she's in the house.
So I'm here with him. I wish I could stay for the entire winter, but you know that I have to go back in order to come back again.
Yes, yes.
So you warm him up and then leave and go and come back again.
Kamala was telling me the other night that when she took the blanket off, it was so cold because we run our temperature at 68. And so what happens is when you leave the blanket and you get cold, you can't wait to get back under that blanket. Am I talking your language?
No, you're speaking my language.
That's it. So how long ago did you get married?
The 12th of July of 2021. So it's just 6 months now. Tomorrow. Oh, I'm enjoying it. Can't you see it on my face?
I do.
You shouldn't even be asking that question because
Right.
I know it shows because I'm comparing my looks, and you know I love to take pictures, right? Because I have to compare how I looked then to how I look now.
Now
I have Kamala. I have to look at the journey.
Yes, and that's exactly why we want to talk to you about this.
Yes, we have to look at the journey, and sometimes looking back at where you're coming from, it helps to keep you in line and go straight the narrow way. Mistakes you have made in the past, we are not going back there.
Alicia Sampson, who we had on last week, mommy, look what she said. Warm him up. Hey, now, Alicia, if you have your link, you can send the link to Alicia. She can jump in if you want to. You know, if we can miraculously do that, she can jump in. So Jen, I want to start there though. You said sometimes you have to look back. Yes. Take us back.
Well, the back is sad. And as you mentioned in your journey of healing, I'm really happy for that. And I'm going to try to ensure that I register for that seminar. Because even though I'm so happy, there are times when something happens and I look back. I look back at the sad and dark and lonely days. Days that sometimes you don't want to think about. Things that sometimes you don't want to remember because it brings tears to your eyes. I just recently, since I came here, I was showing my husband of a photograph of how I looked in 2012. That is 10 years ago. And when I looked at myself, in the photo, I turned away my face. Because during those days, I was going, and Pastor, you would have known me that time, or you would not know I was going through hell. That's the word. But you know what? I give God thanks for each day. He has given me some persons around me, not sometimes the persons you think that would stand by you, Pastor. Not the persons who you think would support you. The Lord provides some people that you wouldn't even dream would speak to you. And those are the persons today. I can thank God for some of the other persons, but the persons who helped me on my journey are persons that I didn't expect to get that level of support from.
Let's take a quick break and come back. I think we're going to have a very good night tonight. Yes. One of our prayers to start was that God would help us to be intentional about reaching someone for Him. And just as this wasn't rehearsed, none of this was planned. So sis, just as you feel comfortable, where you don't feel comfortable, you don't. But just as you feel comfortable, and we're going to go there with you. I promise you, we're going to go there with you. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come right back. And we're going to continue this conversation with Sister Wilson as she's going to take us back and take us through her journey. Tonight, we're featuring, before we go to our break, we're featuring a journey with Jesus through the Gospel of John, our fourth devotional. And tonight we want to focus on page 72 of the chapter, The Awesomeness of Love. The vice president for the well, I'm not saying that right. The union in Nebraska shared with me that this was his favorite chapter in this book, The Awesomeness of Love. And so I thought he and his wife, Elder and Sister Morel. And so I thought I would break this out and see why it was their favorite. And so as we go through Sister Wilson's journey, let's also talk about the awesomeness of love. Head over to our store, kwministries.net, kwministries.net, and grab a copy of A Journey with Jesus Through the Gospel of John. We'll be right back.
Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
All right, welcome back.
All right. So Jennifer, you started us off on kind of this backstory of where you were when you looked at that photograph 10 years ago. And when you looked at yourself, you're like, wow, I was going through hell. And saying, gosh, I never knew that the people that would have been there for me were the ones that ended up being there. And so I was really curious as you were talking about this. I was really curious as you were talking about this because this is about a journey of healing. Looking back to that photo 10 years ago, how do you think it started for you to get from there to where you are now? Where did the journey to healing start?
I like that.
The journey to healing started when I began to look at myself, and I said to myself, if the Bible is true, and it says that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and I am God's creation, and He loves me with an everlasting love, this is not where He wants me to be. It was hard telling myself that, very difficult, because even though I told myself that, it's not easy to get up. It's not even to move. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to do. And so one of the first things I had to do was decide that, if this is not where the Lord wants me to be, it means that I have to move out of the direction where I am. I have to, the situation that I find myself in, and Pastor and Camilla, as you read my post, you will read some of these things in there. You have to move out of the zone, out of that comfort zone that you thought was comfortable for you. You have to move out of the friendship and the relationships. You have to move even out. In fact, I can tell you, I moved from where I was living.
Wow.
That was the first thing I did. The first thing I did after thinking that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, I went and looked a new apartment. I changed my hairstyle. I threw away all the clothes that I used to wear.
Wow.
I made a drastic change. And then even though I was still hurting inside, but at least looking at myself, I started to feel a little bit better, even though I was hurting. That's where it started.
You could see where you wanted to go.
Yes. It was, I knew it was going to be a long and hard journey, but I had some people who never prayed for me in the past, who started to say, sis, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to support you. And let me tell you something, God is good.
Wow. So what I heard you say in all of that, Jennifer, is that first you had to be aware that how you were thinking about yourself and your situation wasn't the correct view, and you had to look at yourself through God's eyes. That's what I heard first.
Right.
And then I heard that it wasn't an easy move. I heard it was very uncomfortable in the very beginning.
But before you get there, Kamala,
Yeah.
I was in worship the other morning, and I was thinking about this whole thing of faith and faith moving you to do something.
Yes.
Faith. So when you have faith in God isn't just saying I believe. Bible says in James, demons believe in trouble.
Yes.
But this belief moves you to do something.
Yes.
And so, Jen, could it be that you were Alicia says transformation, love it. Could it be Jen, that your faith, you were acting on your faith. Your faith said, this is not where I should be, and now I'm going to act on my faith. And the moving of the house, the changing of the hairstyle, the changing of the clothes, were you acting on your faith? Could that be said?
Truly so. I was really acting on my faith, because if I didn't know God for myself, I wouldn't have something in my head saying that, hey, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. This is not the life that God has set out for you to live. He wants you to be happy. He wants you to enjoy life. And as you know, Pastor, I was active. I was president for the Lay Workers Federation. And guess what? I can tell you, I was one hurting woman leading the group of lay people in Manchester, and nobody knew I was hurting.
Joan says, Kamala, change is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. And I would add to that, Joan, but necessary.
Yes.
Go ahead, Kamala. And I want for you to hold that thought where you said you were an active Christian. I want you to hold that, because you said that and I was thinking that. So hold that.
I'm actually thinking about that same
Okay, good. Then go ahead. Go ahead.
From the context of, it's so important for us to notice and acknowledge as people that because I put a face on for the world doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going on behind the scenes. And so many of us pretend to be okay while still really hurting inside. And until we're able, like Jennifer said, to acknowledge that these two things don't go together anymore, and I probably should do something different about this now, then we'll stay stuck in that pain and hurt and suffering unnecessarily.
And I think that's where our marriage was.
Yes.
Where it was, I don't know if I was pretending. I wasn't aware of how I knew the horrible things I was doing. I knew they must have been, I didn't know the damage that I was doing to them.
That awareness of what those actions,
Those behaviors.
yes, did to someone else.
Right.
And it's not just you, it's a lot of us as we're going through life, we have this sense of, I don't feel like I am valuable.
Right.
So how I treat others and how I do things with others, I don't see it as being impactful on them. Who am I to
Right.
impact somebody else?
So Jen, as you now take us through this part now, as you ministered to people in that hurt and in that pain. What was that like, ministering in that hurt and in that pain?
I was telling myself that it was okay. So I would go and preach a nice sermon, and at the end of the day, people would come and they were blessed, and you are such a lovely lady, and God is using you, and God must be pleased with you. And when I go home, I say, Lord Jesus, what is you put me in? Because here I am reaching out to people, and people are being blessed, but I was hurting and nobody knew it. No, because the face, I keep the face.
Yes.
I never said anything to anybody, because I believe that if I'm a minister, I go out and minister. I am not supposed to burden anybody.
Jen, what would you say to somebody else right now who's in that place? Where they are one thing to the public or something completely different inside. What would you say to that person to help make that initial move that you made?
I know it's not going to be that easy to make that move. And yes, especially when we are active in the church, especially our church setting, you don't want to just stop like that because you know people are going to be saying all kind of things, what happened and all of these things. But you must reach a stage in your life where you look into yourself and be honest with yourself, because if you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with God and you're not going to be honest with other people. So until we reach that stage where we are honest enough to say, I am going to stop pretending, because when we are pretending, we are living a lie.
Yes.
And we are telling a lie to the people that we minister to each day. We are telling them that, and they look at me and, Pastor, you would know me, I'm always this happy person, happy going, moving up and down, but I was tearing inside. So we have to be first honest with ourselves, and if we're honest with ourselves, then automatically we're going to be honest with God, we're going to be honest with other people. And being honest means that we have to stop pretending.
Yes.
So now, Kamala, Sister Wilson talks about being honest with ourselves. I don't believe some people have the ability to be honest with themselves. I don't believe some people have the. I believe that we talked about believing that lie, the stories that were told about us. We're no good. We'll never accomplish. What do you say though to those individuals who they know they're hurting, they know they're in pain, they know that, you know, if what we're saying is true, that's not what they should be experiencing. But Sister Wilson has a starting point. Before I go any further, Roxanne says, people feel Christians are perfect, but they're human first. They only hope to live for Christ's perfection. That's a beautiful, excellent point, Roxanne. Thank you so very much for making that point. They don't know. Jennifer preached about salvation. Jennifer preached about the gospel and the good news and what the gospel means. So she knows what her life should look like. We knew what a happy marriage should look like. We knew what a happy marriage should look like and should not look like. What do you say to the person that does not have that model, does not know, but they know they're hurting, they know they're in pain?
I'm a little challenged by that. I'm going to tell you why. I don't think it's that people don't know that they're not being honest with themselves to an extent. Because of what you just said. You said, we knew that that's not what a happy marriage looks like. We know when our life doesn't line up with what we're feeling inside.
Yes.
And so I think the struggle is, and Jennifer, you said it earlier, I think the struggle is I'm so comfortable with what I know that it's really difficult for me to make a choice to be honest and go through the discomfort that's going to take me to get to a different place.
All right, let me ask it a different way. I didn't ask my question properly. I apologize. A child that grows up in a home where they abuse drugs, where he or she sees his mother getting beaten, where he or she, and so that becomes a part of them. That becomes children live what they learn. And that he now grows up and is now married and is now complacent, maybe it is, Roxanne, and is now grown up, and you're right. How that child doesn't have a model. That child doesn't have a gospel that Jen was preaching. That child does not have understand what a great marriage looks like. What does that person do?
That person one has to get a sense, an inkling from the outside that there's something different about the way they're going. And you get that in different arenas. So you may not have the model when you're first growing up, but as you grow up, you get exposed to other things, right? So it gives you that first little inkling. So when you get that first inkling that, hey, this doesn't really line up, let me do some exploration. What else is there? And you get that by talking with people like Jennifer, who have gone through different life experiences.
And that's what I wanted to say. I'm coming to read what you just said, Joan and Roxanne. But that's what I wanted to say is that, Jen, it's so important that you tell the story.
Yes.
It's so what Kamala just said. You knew. You preached. You heard your sermons. You wrote your sermons. So you knew. But there are people out there that don't know. And so
True.
it's so important for your story to be told so that others know I don't have to live this way.
And that's exactly what Joan is saying here. She's saying part of the problem is that the church doesn't facilitate and support openness. We don't support that.
And that is so true. That is so true. Because when I started having my challenge, because I was active in the church and I was an elder. I'm an ordained elder. So I reached the highest level in church leadership. I shared my story with one of my other elders, thinking, yes, here I am. I'm going to get some relief now because, yes, I shared it with my elder. My elder is my confidant, is my friend, is my co-worker. We work together. And listen to me, man. That was where it started going downhill.
Oh, man.
That is where the suffering started. That's where for 4 years I suffered. One conversation with one person messed up my life.
But do you know? I want to tell you something. Do you know though? What happened is you shared your life with somebody that was hurting.
I think so.
No. This is not a thought. This is. Wait.
And after that, guess what? I found out after that is the answer. Because then I found out after that person was really going through worse than what I was going through.
That's what it is. And then you gave that person something now to look away from themselves and to turn on you.
Well, how you know the story? So, and I didn't share it with you.
But that's what happened. That's what we do. Jen, listen, Jen. I got up in church and I told people that my wife left me. And one woman left the church. One woman wrote me and said, I will never come back to your church. No, pastor. And she didn't say no, pastor should get up and say that. No, she didn't say no, pastor should go through that, She said no, pastor should say they're going through that. She didn't say no, pastor should go through that. She said no, pastor should get up in the church and say they're going through that. I'm missing good stuff. Hold on. Let's go to John said part of the problem is that the church, you did that already. Roxy said they still see what they like and don't like about how they live. People
that
do
is that is true. That is true.
Jen, I want to ask you something very important. Know that you went to that one person, you went through hell, blah, blah, blah. Okay. How are you now? Knowing that you're not hiding, look at her. How are you now knowing you're not hiding? You're not looking over your shoulder. You're walking.
A part of the healing too, and I think the Lord has led me in a direction during those difficult times. I started writing my feeling. I started sharing posts on Facebook. I think I see Joan, and Joan is my friend too. I started writing and sharing, and people were asking me, all of these things. I said, there are some things that I go through, I've experienced, while others have watched people experience. And so I started writing. And by writing, you know what started to happen to me? I started to feel good about myself.
Yes.
I started to feel happy. And this gentleman that I'm married to, kudos to him. I can tell you, he helped me through the journey. In the latter part of the journey, he helped me and he said, hey, when I met you many, many years ago, you were never like this. And I started writing, I started thinking positive. And no matter if you hurt me today, guess what? It does me nothing. It doesn't bother me anymore. Guess what? I look beyond and move on.
So
I decide that I will not allow anyone or anything to disturb me, take away my blessing, or take away my joy.
mm, mm. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
I want to make a quick kind of plug here. We talked about writing. And that's
Journaling.
actually something that we talk about in our coping skills workbook, which is the whole journaling process. And I don't know about you, Jennifer. I didn't grow up hearing about these things in church, about different things that I could do to help myself.
No, we never heard those things.
No, we didn't. But journaling is such an important tool to be able to use, and there's so many different ways to do it. And just like you said, as we write, we start to feel better, because when it's rolling around up here, the possibilities are endless, right?
Just
And-
like that.
But
Just
once
like
you
that.
tune it down, it's like, okay, what we are thinking about this really is not the way it really is. And I can start to filter through what is real and what is not, and then I can focus on what helps me.
So since
you know-
we're keeping, since we're open shop, John said, hallelujah, sister. Since this shop we're keeping, since we're open shop, we're going to invite you to head over to kwministers.net and grab your copy of 8 Coping Skills to Heal. And this is a workbook written by a licensed marriage and family therapist. So it's like having your own therapist right there with you. At one point, she tells you, stand in front of the mirror and write down the first thing that comes to your mind. Jump over there, kwministers.net, and grab this book.
It's only
I-
$15.
Before we
Okay,
go to break,
You know,
Go
okay,
ahead, Jen.
before you go to the break, another thing that we have to do as we go through a journey, her hurting journey in life, we have to face our fears. We can't hide away. If, for example, in the beginning, when I started having my trouble and I see people who start knowing about my problems now, I usually hide away. I stopped going to that church. I don't want to see them. I'm not going on that street. After I started looking in myself and talking to the Lord and praying, and I started meeting these people. Hi, how are you doing? Attending church. Lord, Sister Jenny, you look nice. I said, thank you. That's a blessing that comes from the Lord. There are times when I am tempted to say, you hypocrite. I'm being honest.
Of
Of
course.
There are
course.
times when I'm tempted to say, you all hypocrite. But then I show them that, hey, you want me to sink, but I am not going there with you.
Yeah. And always remember, Jen, they're sinking. People that want to hurt people. When people,
Well, most people that sink in the
right,
because a drowning man is gonna grasp
grab it,
anything.
exactly, including somebody else to bring them down with them. So you so it is that we are hypocritical. It is, but it's our pain. And what it's like bullies in school. Bullies aren't bad people, you know.
True.
Bullies are pained people, are hurting people, people who are being abused at home, people who are not getting breakfast at home, people who are being told they're ugly at home, people who have been left and abandoned at home, that they now come to school and they act out that stuff. Somebody said Joan said you're talking her language, girl. People who those are the people that are bullies. So when people in our churches, in our schools, in our families try to destroy us, try to take us down with stuff they know about us, it's out of their own pain. Let me read something to you real quick from A Journey with Jesus from the Gospel of John, and then we'll take a quick break. Listen. Not only do we need to believe that God absolutely loves us, but we also have to use the love God has given to us, to love ourselves. Let me read it again. Not only do we have to believe that God absolutely loves us, but now we have to use the love that God has given to us to absolutely love ourselves. When we come back, Jen, I want you to talk to us about your journey into loving yourself.
Yes.
We'll be right back. So we have some really, really good friends over by Puretopia. And yes, at www.puretopia.com. We would love for you to go over there, check out the store. It's a 4-step process. Listen to me, it's a 4-step process of leaving curls in your child's hair for 4 days. It's vegan. It comes with no allergens. Look at me, and we've gotten it for our children. And you know, I don't mean to talk Anna K's business, but Anna K uses it also and says it's great. So please go over to our friends at puretopia.com and please check out their stuff. Oh, they'll pay us for this ad one day. Don't worry, they'll pay us one day. Jen, this journey that you're going through, you began to love yourself. Talk to us about that.
Well, a part of the looking at yourself and saying this is not what God desires for me is looking at the fact that he loves me with an everlasting love. So I would look at myself, look at my body and say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Even if my arms start dropping because of age, I'm still fearfully and wonderfully made. When you start doing that, you start loving yourself because you have love for God, love for yourself. And by loving yourself, you start taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. That's when sometimes, Kamala, as women, we don't put in effort to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
And so with the recognizing that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, making a strong move to say that I am moving out of this situation, it comes with great change, great sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned that I changed my hairstyle. Mind you, I just changed it again since last week. Because I was Rasta. I came up here as a Rasta. And I'm going back home as a bald head. thanks to my husband who decides that he wants a change. And I'm loving the change because once he loves it, I love it too. So you start loving yourself, you start taking care of yourself. So no matter what people say, mm-hmm. you stop living for people. You know why a lot of times we get hurt in the past? We're living the life that people want us to live.
Yes. That is part.
We cannot live our lives to please people. And that post that I post, I don't know if you saw that last post with my picture. That a post with my picture standing outside. I think it was yesterday I did it. So look on my page. I am not going to be a copy. I am the original.
Yes.
Read it for me, Pastor, what it says. Have you found it?
Yes, I'm different, but I'm not going to be a copy just to fit in.
That's right.
I am not going to be a copy. I am an original.
That's right.
And when we start seeing ourselves as an original, my granny told me once, my great-grandmother, she told me, when you go into a store and you see clothes hung up to be sold, she said when there are white clothes to be sold, it always comes with plastic. The plastic is there for protection of the white. Whenever the plastic is taken off and people comes into that store and start touching, two things are going to happen. Either it's given away for free or the price is cut. My plastic is on.
Yes.
I am super covered covered with the love of Jesus and the love of my husband.
Yes.
And so guess what? I'm not going to be given away for free, and my price is not going to cut. In fact, it's going up.
Hey, I like that. Listen, in this book, it says in 1 Corinthians 13, be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Do not be puffed up, boastful, arrogant. Don't keep a record of wrongs that you have done. Forgive yourself. Everyone messes up. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has done something wrong. Stop carrying guilt around. Do not keep a record of wrong against yourself. Persevere. Keep hoping. Don't give up on yourself. Keep trying. So what if you messed up? So what if you missed the mark? Don't ever give up on yourself.
I love that part, the forgiveness, and don't hold grudges, because whenever you reach a stage where you have that hatred and this bitterness inside, it is going to show on your face.
Yes.
It is going to cause you to treat people as how sometimes you'd want to treat them.
Yes.
But you're not supposed to treat them.
Yes.
Because here you are. I've been healed.
Yeah.
I'm on a new journey. I am here now to help people to grow, not to push back anybody. So the same persons who have hurt me, who are still hurting, I am on this journey to help them to get on a new journey. And so what I've been doing, even now, the persons who have been hurting in the past, like me, I am on a journey with them. And I would say to a lot of them, I would talk to them. They would say, Sister Jen, how you manage, how you go through this, how you go through that. And some of them knew what I had gone through, and they can't understand, oh, I'm still smiling and I'm happy. And I said, I've reached the stage where I do not allow people to control my life.
Ooh, I have reached the stage where I do not allow people
to control my life.
You can tweet that. Let's take a quick break. God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
I want for you guys to know that you are giving away some $1 million conversations in here.
I know. I know.
And I would.
Hi, Sister Nora. Welcome. Yes. I see you out there.
And I feel like I would be irresponsible not to say this. And this is for people who are listening, who, you know, maybe you don't come from a church background, don't necessarily come from a biblical background. A lot of times we feel like the stuff that we hear, you know, even in a clinical context or in a different context, we feel like these things are new. But here we are reading from the Bible that one of the things that we have to do in order to heal is to forgive ourselves, is to recognize that we are not the horrible individuals that we paint ourselves to be, and that God has looked at us and given us his image, which is the image of love. And unless we recognize that first, just like that's where you started, Jennifer. Unless we recognize that first, we can't go on a journey of healing. This is the $1 million advice that anybody will tell you.
Jen, on January 2, you said this, and I'm going to read what you said on January 2, and then I'm going to ask you to just put us in your mind. Tell us what you were thinking when you said this. Joan said, we can control us, not others.
You are spot on, Joan.
We can control us, not others.
Correct.
All right, Jen, you said this. I am determined to be cheerful and happy in whatever situation I may find myself. For I have learned that the greater part of our misery or unhappiness is determined not by our circumstances, but by our disposition.
You gotta break
Enlighten us.
break it down.
Okay. The greater part of my misery in the past, let me break it down to my personal life. The greater part of my misery was thinking that I was not good enough. My body is not the type of body it should be when I compare it to other persons. I was unhappy because I didn't have I looked at myself, I don't have that nice car. I used to, during your time, Pastor, I used to take taxi. So I used to compare myself with other persons. That made me very miserable. I used to think that I deserved better and I had to go out and search for better. I think that better was on the outside. I didn't realize the better was right here because Jesus was with me. So the greater part of my misery came from thinking that there were other persons who were better off than me, and I am not good enough. I am not beautiful enough. I don't have good friends, and all of these things are taking place. So when I thought about those things, it made me quite miserable. But then I looked at it and said, hey, these things should not make me happy. Because yes, I can have a nice house and God forbid fire come and burn it down in a second. I can have a nice car and I'm driving down the road and something happened. I can have friends and they turn their back on me like they did in the past. And so I realized I can be nice and beautiful today. And guess what? Something happened, me meet in an accident and my face disfigure. Is it that when all of these things happen, and if I have to live with it forever, I'm going to be miserable forever? God forbid, no.
This is
Yeah. We said earlier that we're going to talk about why we started the seminar with a women's seminar. You are speaking the language. This is what we as women primarily struggle with. We're never good enough, never pretty enough, never sexy enough, never successful enough, never anything enough to meet up to this standard that somebody else set up.
No, hold on, let's be clear.
Yes.
That other women set up.
Other women,
Other women set up.
everybody. And this is why it's so important for us to go on this journey of healing as women, so we can start putting aside some of these messages that we keep telling ourselves.
False
that are
messages.
Just not true.
Eric Jones said happiness is all about perspective.
You are right.
How do I see it?
Yeah, that is true.
And
That is so true.
and that's what your post said. It's about my disposition. It's about my position. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
And if we reach a stage where we're dependent on other persons to be happy,
Yes.
we're going to be unhappy for the rest of our lives.
If we reach the stage where we're depending
And
on other people,
to be happy, we're going to be unhappy for the rest of our lives.
I think that is sown message. Listen, why don't you head over to KW Ministries? We have a nice, beautiful cup there. It says KW Ministries, A Desperate Cry, the journey to healing, reaching people with a desperate cry. It's a great hot chocolate cup.
I want to
And
actually
this
add
whole-
something that I just thought about, honestly. I think when you think about some of this merchandise, yes, part of it's that we're holding the shop. So yes, guys, we are trying to make some money. But I want for you to think about this from the perspective that every time you use this mug, every time you carry this tote, every time you use this workbook, every time you read this devotional, it's about a message to yourself that you're on a journey of healing.
But what about when you wear the shirt?
When you wear the t-shirt, you are on
Yes.
a journey of healing and restoration. Because that's what it's all about. God, Jen, you've said it in different ways several times tonight. God didn't create us to live in suffering. That was never the plan. And so we can make intentional efforts, not alone, because we're never alone in it, but we can make intentional steps with God so that we can live the life that He intended us to live.
And one more point. What I've come to realize during this COVID season,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
it has become very difficult for a lot of women. Why? Because they are so dependent on other persons to be happy.
Oh yeah, because they're not around.
We are not able to move around. We are not able to see. We're not able to visit.
Yes.
And sometimes the persons around us that we have around us, the family or the relatives that are around us, they are not the persons that really makes us comfortable. Yes. And so if Pastor, if you're not happy with your wife around you before pandemic, during this pandemic,
Problem.
every time she leaves in the morning, you say, "Thank you, Jesus." When she drives up in the driveway in the afternoon, she said, "Lord, have mercy." That is killing a lot of women.
Yeah.
I've heard it. I've heard people saying it. Them just can't stand them husband with them have. Them wish he never come home. And when you reach a stage where you start saying those things, it means that you're going down.
And Jen, we got to that stage in our marriage where we didn't want. I don't know if we ever wished each other would die, but we didn't. Well, Kamala didn't want to be around me anymore. It was. We got to that stage in our marriage, and what had to happen was we had to be honest. We had to be self-aware, and then once we became self-aware, then we had to decide: did we want our marriage? And once we decided that God, well, not just that we wanted it, but that God placed us together.
Yes.
And we went back. And I think, and a lot of couples you do this. You hate each other now, and you're mad at each other. Could you go back to when you first met?
Yes.
When you were chasing her and begging her for her number, and when you saw him, you guys had butterflies. Could you just go back and try and remember those times? Yes, there's a whole bunch of pain that has come between. There's a whole bunch of hurt. I remember my wife.
I like that you said that. Pain that comes between.
Right.
Because did the stuff that you loved in the beginning change? No, the experience that you had tainted it to where you couldn't see it anymore.
Right. All right, we gotta go.
One point before you go.
It's 9:59.
Oh, one point before you go. Before all of this, when I was hurting, I realized even my eating habit was really distorted.
Yes.
I wasn't eating because, to be honest, I was weighing about 125. Now I weigh 160.
Contentment, Alicia. Contentment.
So I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating because I felt like I was not good enough. I was just grabbing here, there, fast food, all kind of something, man. And even though I was eating the wrong things, I was not putting on any weight. I was just there. And now, listen to me, man. I eat good food. I eat good food because guess what? I am royalty, and royalty don't eat anything.
That's right.
I eat like a queen.
That's right. That's right. Queen Wilson.
So we have to reach that. All of that are the changes that we have to make on our journey.
Yes.
Sister Wilson, I think we have to have her back.
I think so. I don't feel like this conversation is finished. But
well, I just touched the iceberg.
That's right. That's right. We have to have her back. And let me say this, next week, we're excited about our program next week.
Yes.
Next week, we're coming live from Uganda. Next week, we're coming live from Uganda. We are so looking forward to hosting you on next week. We're coming live from Uganda, Kampala, Uganda. And so we're looking forward for you to be with us. We thank Sister Wilson so much for taking us on her journey of healing. Joan, thank you so much. Nora, thank you. Roxanne, thank you. Father-in-law, thank you. Alicia, thank you so much for starting us off. And for all of you that came by, we thank you so very, 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 very much. We thank Anna K. Fagan, who none of this would be possible. None of this would be possible without her. And so, yes, Sister Nora, awesome. We thank you so much, ma'am. We're so grateful for you. And so we would love to see you on next week, Monday night. It's KW, what is it? Monday night with KW. Thank you, Joan. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you did.
Well, Joan, we're happy you did. Hey, Joan, do us a favor. Joan. How can she private chat us? I want to get her size and send her a t-shirt. This is her first time. She enjoyed it. Joan, we want to send you a gift. We want to send you a t-shirt. Cam Win Min, how do we do it? Oh, email us. Email us at no. Tell me what to do. Direct message us at Cam Win Min.
That's Facebook Messenger.
Right. Facebook Messenger us, Joan, at Cam Win Min. Your t-shirt size, and let's get a t-shirt out in the mail for you on tomorrow. Thank you all so much for coming on. Time is gone.
But we don't want to let you go without reminding you that you don't have to wait for Monday Night Live with KW. You can go to our website any day of the week for all kinds of content, including what's in our shop. So go ahead and check out the website, www.kwministries.net.
But there's another thing I need to tell you, and we didn't do a really good job of it too, is this program that's coming in March 4, you don't have to wait for March 4 to experience it. You have to wait for March 4 to experience it live. But actually, on our website, you'll be able to register for 8 weeks of our digital, our pre-recorded seminars. We'll be able to register for our pre-recorded seminar. And guess what? You can actually do that one at your pace. If you don't want to wait 8, I would do it for the 8 weeks because it's a process. But you can actually do that at your pace. But that's not quite up yet. Just letting you know that's coming. I think I want to end with a quote from Sister Wilson. Nothing you experience is ever wasted. Though it may be hard to see it right now, the pain in your life can be an opportunity to shift your gaze to the Father. As much as the suffering causes your heart to ache, when your eyes are set on Him, you'll see that God's mercy is carrying you through every single day. Good night.